When you need a little boost of positivity, just the right dose of nostalgia could bring warmth or meaning back into your life. Having a little nudge of the past can best serve our future as it reminds us of our former selves and how we presently came to be who we are. It's beyond taking just another trip down memory lane. Today, we'll discuss how nostalgia can help us to find greater meaning and purpose in our present lives. We're welcoming the music, mind, and artistic perspectives of upstate New York original grunge rock band Candy Ambulance and guest business professional, artist, and founder of Rochester, New York's Airigami, Mr. Larry Moss. I'm Amanda Ashley, and this is episode 66, Nostalgia. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. And we are now live with Candy Ambulances. Caitlin and Jesse, what's up, you guys?
Hey.
Hello. How are
Hey,
you?
thanks. I'm very good. So you're both in two different places.
Yes.
Jesse, where are you?
So I'm in Albany.
In Albany, okay.
Mhm.
And Caitlin, where are you?
I'm in Troy.
You're in Troy. Awesome. So why are you guys apart? COVID thing?
Yes. So
Yeah.
my girlfriend's a teacher, and one of her students just tested positive.
Oh man, I'm
So I
sorry
need
to hear
to
that.
quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope everything turns out okay. So,
Thank you.
Caitlin, you're actually going to rock out for us one of your Candy Ambulance's original songs. What are you going to play?
I'm going to play the first song that we ever played together as a band. It's a song called Lipstick. That's lips/dick.
Nice. Take it away.
Out an open window and I know something in me changed. I'm not writing nice songs anymore. I wasn't good at them anyway. And all things I shared tonight, I could actually somewhere is right, but I know it'd be so quickly. Well, hell, nobody accused you of anything. No, not anything. I'm still in this bed, sweating parts of him, trying to think up ways to blow his mind. But he's done it all before, and I'm sure he'll never be mine. And all things that you shared tonight, I could actually somebody's fired up, but no, it beats so swiftly. Well, hell, nobody accused you of anything. No, not anything. me, but somehow I feel alright. If it's better this way, I can't say it wasn't placed in this ring to fight. 'Cause I know some things will change, and I could actually tears apart when I just want you with me, with me, with me, with me. Well, hell, nobody accused you of anything, not a goddamn anything. Well, hell, nobody accused you of anything. No, not anything.
Awesome job, Caitlin. Nice job. So that was Caitlin of Candy Ambulance. We also have Jesse here who is quarantining. So you guys, let's talk. You're actually a three-piece.
Yes.
Right.
So Jesse, you play bass, right?
I play bass. Mhm.
Okay, and then you have a drummer.
Right. So
Very
yep,
nice.
guitar, drums, bass, and Caitlin sings.
Yeah, good. I mean, the recordings sound awesome. It's really, you guys are really fun to listen to. How would
Thank you.
you describe your music?
um, that's always a weird question for me personally, but I feel like our music is just it's just a combination of like all the stuff that we like and all the stuff that we just come together and it just comes out and it ends up being some sort of rock and roll, I guess, like alternative rock.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely
I,
feel a lot of like pop influences, and a lot of, actually, like, I was really influenced by like 90s country growing up. So I don't know if that necessarily comes out, but that's kind of where I learned how to write songs, or like structuring songs.
that's interesting. And Caitlin, tell us about that. So when did you actually start writing music?
Um, when I was like 12 or 13, I saved all my babysitting money, and I got an acoustic, actually this acoustic guitar. I've never owned another one, so it's been the same one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't take playing seriously until Candy Ambulance started, but I did have like a very punk band with my friend Megan. She played drums and I played guitar, and we didn't have a bassist or anything. And we just, it was like very sloppy punk, but we called ourselves Pap Smear, which was pretty cool.
That's a great name. I love it. So how did you and your bandmates come together? Like tell us like the story about how you all met and formed as Candy Ambulance.
Jesse and I worked together, and we had little crushes on each other. So we were like, let's play music. And Jesse played with John since they were like 15. So they had like a solid like rhythm section, and I don't know, we didn't really think too much was going to come up of it. But after like a couple weeks of playing open mics, we ended up like moving in together and getting serious about it, which is cool.
That's very cool. I love it. And then Caitlin, you had mentioned that you and Jesse actually had dated at one point too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we dated for like 4 years.
Yeah, just a short little amount of
Yeah.
time, nothing
Uh-huh.
big. Um, you guys were actually engaged.
Right. Hmm.
And Jesse, you had probably the most kick-ass engagement I've ever heard of. So Caitlin said that you actually proposed to her with a guitar case.
Yeah, with a Gibson Flying V. Uh-huh.
That's
It was
pretty
like her
badass.
dream guitar at that time. And yeah, I thought that'd be a nice way to do it.
That's amazing. So
It was.
I love. Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlin. Say that again.
Oh no, it was awesome.
That's so cool. I mean, so I love that you guys are. So you're now not dating, right? You guys are just completely friends and
Hmm.
best friends, nonetheless. And you're working together like this. I mean, what's it like to have lived like all this life and to like be carrying on your passion, but to just be friends?
It feels good, you know, it feels normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for it because we are it's so the relationship is just so much calmer now, super even, very supportive. And it's really amazing that we could still function together like this. And even with John too, like it's hard to keep a relationship functioning between two people for any amount of time, when it's a romantic one. Like we've been like business partners for 6 years and we're still like each other's closest friend circle.
Sure. I was gonna say that. I bet as you begin to like climb your way up, so like from starting from, you guys just kind of being friends and joking around about putting together a band to putting together a serious band, and then now you start taking on the business end of things, right? And I mean, how has that changed your perspective on, I mean, as you grow, you learn more about yourselves and about your careers and where you want to take it. And now, like, we're in this weird situation with COVID, right? So, I mean, how, taking all those experiences into account, like, how does that change the way you look at your band moving forward?
That's a great question. Um, I, I don't really know how to answer that. I just feel like moving forward, it's, I'm really curious to see what comes about of the music industry as we knew it.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a unit, we need to be creative as we move forward and rethink maybe just our I don't know, previous uh, thoughts on what bands were, because like who knows when we'll be able to tour again.
I
Right.
know.
We're gonna be probably a studio band for a good year or two, I think.
Do you feel like this has all inspired you to create and record more?
Totally. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
been doing a lot of recording.
yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
you were talking about like in terms of like nostalgia. And I was telling you this the other day, but it was like one of the most kind of intense moments for me during quarantine has been when I realized that we were at practice and we were just all like leaning back and talking about our day, and there wasn't any urgency. Like, okay, this person's schedule dictates that we have to be out the door by this time. We've got a show coming up. We have 1 hour, no goofing off. Gotta get the set down. And then this moment of us just hanging out while creating new songs was like, I felt like I was a teenager again. I haven't felt that way since I was a kid, and you have all this time in the world to be creative. So that's been definitely a positive thing to look at, is just the fact that we have the time and to learn. And I'm taking guitar lessons and Jesse's taking voice lessons, and everybody's just got a little bit of time to reset and grow. So I guess, if you're going to put a positive spin on it, it's good to be grateful for the time that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah, having the time to really think and to be creative like this is a blessing for sure. And I also, on the flip side of it, you guys are lucky to feel creative, because I think there's a lot of musicians that, like, a lot of musicians, and including myself, I found at a point this was a really difficult time to be creative because there's just so much congestion, like head congestion with what's happening like all around us in every direction,
Right.
Um, but so you guys gotta tell me. I mean, I gotta know, where does the name Candy Ambulance come from? Like, how'd that come about? Because it's the best name ever.
So it came from a drunken night. Most of our days in the early time of the band were spent drinking. And one of the nights, after just a long night of drinking, we woke up and saw written on the fridge was the name Candy Ambulance. And we were like, oh, look at that. That's kind of a cool name. And then John was like, oh, yeah, I wrote that on the fridge last night. I thought someone said it. And I wrote that in a poem a few years ago, and we are like, "Oh, cool! That's kind of cool. Let's just go with that."
Yeah, I just love it. I think and then having Larry on afterwards, I was like, all I could think of is like, I got candy and balloons. Like, what
Yeah.
does that
Right?
trigger? It brings me
Yeah.
right back to the days, the good old
The
early
good old
Amanda
days.
days. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you guys had mentioned touring in the past. I mean, you guys did a lot of touring. Awesome to see how many posters you have. Um, what's one of your, like, thinking back nostalgically, like, what is one of your favorite stories from the road?
Oh man. Caitlin.
um, I would say it's it's kind of been, I mean, we have a lot of like kind of crazy stories that are a little bit negative that I don't really want to focus on. They're funny, but um uh I think meeting Dave has been one of the coolest things. So John does our booking, and he uh will go on like Facebook, like DIY scene pages for a city, like if we're going to somewhere new, and I think we were playing in like Lincoln or something like that. And So John went into the DIY thing. He found someone who lived in Philly at the time, going to school, but was from the city that we were playing in. He was like, I'm not going to be there, but you guys can stay with my dad. And we were kind of like, what is this situation going to be? Like, it's something we've never, like, not a situation we've been in before. And then we meet Dave, and it's like he's been there for us every tour. We can stay at his house. They make us dinner. We go out to dinner
Aw.
with them. It's just cool. I think so. That's the part that I'm nostalgic for, is the cool people that you meet, and the kindness and the openness, and just how good the individual person, when you get to like interact with them in this funky way, like meeting a band on tour. Like, we've been taken in, we've been treated, given showers, given food. It's like really, it's humbling and very cool.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I love that. I mean, if you guys could ever feel like one thing again, like as a performer, think back to like one of your performances, or maybe, after a performance, or like you were saying, a moment where you guys all sat together. Was there, I mean, is there ever a moment like that sticks out in your head that you're like, I don't necessarily want to go back to that time, but I want to feel that moment again?
We play this really cool festival in Wisconsin called Mile of Music, and there the people in that city are just really, really psyched to hear live music. And so you stay for like a week. They give you get dental, you get your skin checked, you get free. They give you those free, really expensive, awesome earplugs that are like molded to your ear. And just a ton of other stuff. They feed you, put you up in the hotel. But like, all the people in the city are so excited. So it just feels really good. Like, you're there for like a whole week, and people are like, oh, can you, like, flagging you down, like, oh, I'm going to catch your set here, here, and here. Like, cause you play multiple shows. It's just like having people give a shit so much about a band that's not, that's like not a household name by any means. So it's like just kind of cool to feel. to feel that like achieved
Like a
actual.
rock star. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the rock star treatment all around. It's cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Um, Tell us a little bit about your writing process. I mean, is it, Caitlin, I know like you, a lot of this is your writing, or am I wrong to assume that?
It's definitely collaborative.
Oh,
We like I come in with like the bones, but then we put the meat on together.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Nice. And I mean, you guys, what's next for you? I mean, I know you said you had mentioned maybe like that you're recording and writing. Do you have like another album that you're maybe planning for?
Yeah, yeah, we're in the mixing process right now, um, and then gonna plan a release for that. And we're also doing this really cool session down in Brooklyn in a little less than a month. We're gonna be in promotion for this new album. We're gonna be recording live to vinyl, so people
Amazing.
will be able to pre-order a song that will perform live to vinyl specifically for them. So yeah, it's gonna be
That
really
is
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And so when
Yeah.
can we, oh, go on,
Oh,
Kayla.
sorry. If you wanted to check that out, the link is in our Instagram bio. It's Least of All Studios. And so if you want like a very custom, so it's like if you order the song, it doesn't matter how many people order the song, we play it for you. So if three people order the same song three times, it's you're getting a copy that we play like directly for you, and we get to like record you a little message beforehand, so you'll have like a little digital signature on there too.
How brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that. That's really cool. Well, I mean, guys, where else can our audience be directed to your music? Where can they download your songs? Tell us.
We're on all major streaming. So Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp, if you like Bandcamp better.
Nice. So you guys make sure you check out Candy Ambulance. They also have a Facebook page if you'd like to give them a like. Thank you to the both of you for being on the show and for being honest and awesome. We're gonna hear one more song from Caitlin in the end of our program, but from Candy we go to Balloons. Mr. Larry Moss, how are you?
Hi there. Um, yeah, fun to be on with those guys and chat a little bit and yeah, see what else is going on in the middle of COVID.
Right. Super cool to have you. You are so interesting and fun to learn about. So, can you tell our audience just a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Well, Airigami does large scale balloon installations, fine art illustration, stop motion animation, a little decor, all with balloons. And, we also get into lots of community projects. We like to use the balloons as a way of connecting people with art. Because balloons, as you've been talking about, are this fun toy that you think of kids and playful, and people don't think of it as serious. So it's a way to kind of break down barriers and get everybody playing with something in an artistic fashion that they're not afraid of. So that's kind of what we do, and what we play with is all about bringing art into communities. Like I said, very large scale installations. And actually, a little while ago, you had asked me if I had pictures I could show. I could certainly do that if you want me to.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to get into that in a moment. Can you tell
Okay.
us just a little bit more about you? So, you from New York City?
Grew up in New York City, came up here for college originally with the plan of spending a lot of my time at the Eastman School of Music.
Oh,
But
really? So
yeah,
you're a
I came.
musician too?
I started out as a violinist, played since I was really little, up through high
Wow.
school. Did violin at Performing Arts High School, so the Fame School. Um,
Incredible.
but
Oh, really? The
yeah,
what Fame was based off of?
yeah.
That's
And no,
amazing.
we did not dance on cars or tables in the cafeteria. But
Man,
that idea, so performing was just always something that I was into, and a lot of what I do now came from that performance side. The visual art piece grew out of that. much later. Um, but yeah, it was always, for me, it was always having an audience, performing, getting in front of people, sharing, and all of that. And yeah, like I said, came here for Eastman and ended up never attending due to an accident I had that hurt my hand.
Oh no.
Kind of. So I did a little there, but I didn't pursue it very far.
So how did you go from street performing, as a balloon artist to origami? Like, how did, this all come about?
Well, I would summers, well, initially in high school, I would go out again, being at a performing arts school. Everybody would do all sorts of weird things. And for me, I started practicing on the subways doing magic. It was before I got heavily into the balloons. I would take out a deck of cards or whatever I felt like playing with that was small that I could fiddle with on the subway. And over time, I noticed that people on the train were watching me. To me, it was initially practice time, but as audiences started to just watch, I would break into shows.
That's
And
so fun.
it was a great way to learn and experiment and play because I never had to worry that nobody paid for a ticket, nobody expected anything. They just saw some guy with stuff in his hands and wow, what's going on? And one day I remember sitting on the train when with a deck of cards in my hand and saw that my stop was coming up. So I went to put away the cards, except putting them away the way a magician would. I didn't just like fold up the deck, stick it in the box and into a pocket. I did a vanish of the entire deck of cards. I went to throw them up into the air and they were gone. And
That's
this
awesome.
woman this woman standing in front of me, I was sitting down, she's holding the strap above, and she just suddenly like turned, solid statue staring at me, and just all of a sudden pointed a finger and let out a yell, "Devil!" and ran out the door as it opened, and I just sat speechless and stared at the door and watched her go. And I said, I think if I can get a reaction like that, it's time to hit the streets. um so I started, I went to Central Park, took out the magic, and did a little bit. And the transition came about as I was watching other people in the streets. Like at this point, I felt like I was really good enough to perform and to busk, but I wasn't making a lot of money. So I started watching everybody else to see what it was that they were doing that made them more money. And the people that did best were not necessarily the people with the best shows or the greatest skills, or it was the people that knew how to draw a big crowd. And I took out balloons just as a gimmick because they're bright and colorful and they can be seen from a huge distance. So I would take out the balloons and play with them for the crowd to gather. And as the crowd would gather, I initially put the balloons down and picked up the magic and went into my show, and eventually realized that that was silly. If the balloons were drawing their attention, why was I doing magic at all? Um, and that was pretty much it. At that point, I just realized that there was so much I could do with the balloons, and I started performing with them, doing storytelling around them until getting bigger. I started building stage sets and costumes for myself, still on the street, and eventually had the opportunity to start moving indoors to stages and theaters and yeah, and just bigger
So
spaces that we could
amazing.
fill.
And your wife actually, like you both own Origami together, right?
Right. Kelly is my partner, design partner, business partner, all of that. And it's really incredible to be able to travel together and do the things that we do. And while I had started it, there's no question the work that Arigami was doing changed dramatically when Kelly came on board. Her background, not as a performer, but as a graphic artist and illustrator, and she had a sense for design that I did not have. I would go out and make things because the audience was enjoying it, and I would get bigger and more elaborate and work on the engineering aspect of things. But I would sculpt and manipulate what I was doing until it was finished. And Kelly came along again with as a designer and said, "No, no, no, we can streamline this process and uh, figure out ahead of time more of what's coming, and it totally changed the work. And together we've done things that I never imagined we would do.
It's so amazing. I mean, Larry, could you show us your work, like the images that you're going to show us? Um,
Sure.
I mean, how do you
So
come up with your themes? And so is that the like just within conversation between you and Kelly?
between us, between our host or clients or sponsors, and it's a mix of possibly what a sponsor wants their audience to see, and sometimes it's just ideas, things that we've always wanted to do. So the one I have up right now, this was actually at the National Air and Space Museum in DC, the Smithsonian, and it was the 50th anniversary of the first walk on the moon. And so this is Neil Armstrong's left lunar boot, a recreation of it,
Ah,
quite a bit larger. You can see the lander there, so that's quite a bit larger than the boot that he wore. But to have some fun on the day, on that anniversary day, we built the boot and raised it to the ceiling, and it was lowered like the ball on New Year's Eve and touched the
what?
ground at
That's
the exact
cool.
moment that Armstrong stepped on the moon.
That is so neat. I love it. So,
So
I mean,
yeah, a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
the time, just a lot of the time, there are stories that go with the piece. Like I think of us as storytellers more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like for that boot, how many balloons I mean, does that consist of? How do you
I
estimate how many balloons it's gonna take to build these structures?
Well, a lot of what we do is of a very organic nature. Um, I feel like I should put me back in here somehow. So there we go. So the things that, like the boot, we know how big it's going to be. We size our balloons. We know how big all of the balloons are going to be. Um, so we can plan for a number of balloons to fit the size we want, and it's all done ahead of time, on paper, on computer, and then
So is that where like Kelly kind of steps in, like with the graphic work? She kind of like
right,
conceives the image, and then that's what you start planning your balloons off of.
right, and then where I was saying it gets organic, there's a certain amount though that we don't know what it's going to be until we're working on it. We have a rough idea based on the number of balloons and everything else, but then there are some pieces. So like moving on to something like that dragon, like the wings were carefully planned, all laid out. We knew exactly what was going to be used, but some parts of it, like the arms, where there's more twisting of balloons involved than blowing up balloons to exact sizes, we've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to use, but it might change, so we bring
Yeah.
extra product for that to be able to manipulate it. The clouds are all, we look at them and decide, have we gone far enough yet? But this was a maker fair in Kuwait.
Wow.
um,
You've
this was
displayed in like how many countries? Was it 16 or 17 countries that you've had
I
exhibits like this?
think I'm up to 19.
Wow.
um, there's some question of what you can count. Like when I was in Hong Kong, it wasn't part of China, but it is now. So does it count as two countries? I don't know. But so it's approaching 20 countries
That's
one way or another.
amazing.
This one was in Belgium. This was for Euro 2000, a big soccer tournament. And you can see here, for anybody that didn't
That's
quite catch the
amazing.
scale of it. So even all of the grass is balloons.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and then back in Rochester, this was 5 stories tall in the Sibley building. And this was, I don't remember exactly, but somewhere around 40 or 50,000 balloons.
Wow. Now, can you talk a little bit about the team of people? So, I mean, you have a lot of community involvement in some of these projects. I mean, your average team of people for something like the image we just saw in Rochester, how many people were making that, and in what time frame?
We always build things in less than a week because they're latex balloons. They're not going to last. They're going to deflate. So most of the time go is in the planning phase, and we can take months to plan something out so that when we go in we can just build it. The team gets bigger based on the number of people that are the on the size of the project and how long we think it's going to take to build. So in Rochester, when we're home, it's a little easier to play around. So we've also invited people to learn from us. So the core team for something that big is usually 10 to 12 people that are the co-designers, the artists that can do all the problem solving if something comes up. Then we opened that up as something that any other artist, and it didn't have to be balloon artists, any artist at all that wanted to come in and work with us. And by that I mean anybody that called themselves an artist. It didn't have to be somebody with experience creating art, or basically we said to the community, if you want to spend 5 days with us building, sign up, come and be part of it. And then we had so that brought our numbers up to about 50 or 60. And then we did other things like the grass in that sculpture was all balloon dogs. So we went out to local Ys and the JCC and schools and taught kids how to make balloon dogs. And they would fill garbage bags full of with balloon dogs that we took back to the Sibley building and put them on the floor to create the grass. So
That's
in
so
the
awesome.
end, so in the end, we had something like 300 or 400 people that participated in the creation.
Wow, that's incredible. So cool. I mean, so Larry, thinking back, like in your career today, we're talking about nostalgia, right? What's like one of your fondest memories?
Of construction, or well, I guess one of my favorites, because it has come back over the years so many times in so many positive ways. My first trip to Tokyo, where I had never done a well, nobody had ever done a large build with balloons like that. It was unheard of, and I was invited by a television program to come on and do something huge with a number of Japanese celebrities. And so you could think of it like, here in this country back then we had Circus of the Stars, and reality TV has developed out of this whole concept of, get celebrities or get the public or whatever do something, and cameras just rolling as I'm teaching them and we're building. And it was a really fun experience to do something at that point. That was 15,000 balloons that went
Wow.
into this sculpture, and it was nobody had ever done that at that scale. But what I remember most about it was being invited there because I was the artist and I had a vision and I was going to get everybody to work with me. And what I quickly learned was that no matter how much studying I had done about the sculpture that they wanted, um, all of that studying came at the last minute after a phone call. I knew nothing about Japanese art, and I misunderstood what I was reading and didn't really capture it. So when I got there and learned how wrong I was, the solution was to turn to the crew that I had and say, so what do we have to do to make it right? And rather than being the sole artist with a team following my directions, it became a community project, and I became a facilitator and a director and a teacher more than that single person with a single vision. And that kind of shaped the rest of my career, I think, where I no longer was interested. I liked having the lead. I liked coming out with a vision. I liked coming out with sketches and plans, but it's all about what everybody else in the community contributes. And it really changed my vision of what art can be, and especially, a focus on community art. So that trip to Tokyo was amazing, and I've been back a few times since. So almost 20 years after that first trip, I got an invitation with Kelly this time to go back for a maker fair there, and I was actually able to find one of the people that I had worked with on that first
Wow,
trip.
no way. That's
And
great.
yeah, and Carrie came and she said, absolutely, I'll come and help. And she found a team there, so that I had a team of artists there ready to just jump in and help with the new sculpture. And so I think that, just that memory, that having that opportunity to go to Tokyo once, not only influenced my career but gave me a bunch of friends. And now that's what I look forward to when I travel, is seeing friends around the world.
Sure. I know. That's I mean, are you going crazy like with having to be stagnant kind of? With travel is obviously, stifled a little bit right now. I mean, how does
Yeah,
this
it
change the way you're working?
totally changed
Yeah.
everything. I absolutely miss the travel. It's so weird. Leading up to COVID, I was probably on the road about a week a month on average. So
Wow.
not being able to travel at all has been really weird and frustrating. But I was traveling too much, so I'm happy that I was able to slow down. And now I'm enjoying that I'm the stuff I'm doing at home. So moving forward, I hope that I spend more of my time at home. um,
Yeah.
I want to travel again. I miss a lot of the places I've been, and I miss the friends that I've met. Um, but it's really nice to be able to focus on the home community.
Sure. I was gonna that kind of leads me to like what I was gonna ask. I mean, do you see yourself maybe in the future doing more in Rochester?
Yes. So during the pandemic, one of the things that I've been focusing on, I've also always been, for almost as long as I've been in Rochester, I've been a teaching artist here, going into schools throughout Western New York, um, teaching science with balloons, teaching the balloons themselves, teaching art classes, doing, and that's always been really important to me. So since the pandemic started, there's been a huge focus. There's a group that I work with here that I helped found, Teaching Artists Rock, which is, more people like me that are teaching artists that go into schools and senior centers and all of that. And that has become such a huge focus for me, that I don't think I want to see that grow. So obviously we haven't been going into the schools either, but what we've all been working on is content that we can present online. And I've had a lot of these artists coming into my studio that I've been able to work with, either recording them or helping them edit or helping them develop content to use online. That I, even when things return to us being able to go into schools and travel and all that, I think this is going to be a major part of what I do moving forward.
That's kind of amazing thing to discover throughout this time. Granted, it feels like a hit at first because you're like, oh my God, my life, like there's no travel. I'm not like, how am I going to carry on? But now you're discovering this whole new avenue for yourself. That's got to feel pretty good, no?
It does. And, I think the biggest thing I've learned about myself is that as much as I enjoy being the center of attention and being on stage, or being, doing a large installation and being on TV and whatever, I'm finding that at this point, I really like being behind the scenes too, either directing or coaching or brainstorming, or I have been in front of cameras for so many years that it's actually nice being able to help other people do that.
Sure. Do you see yourself mentoring more, like taking on a role of mentorship, like in the near future?
I would love to. I really like seeing um, younger artists developing, or I say younger. In some cases, it is younger. In other cases, it's people just now getting into art. You know, realizing, like, one of the things that I hope I've done a lot of is inspired people to create with non-traditional materials.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people that didn't think of themselves as artists before are learning. And while I've been part of it, I think the maker movement is a major piece of that people are learning that they can do more with the materials they have around them. um, I'm really enjoying that. Yeah, helping people find their way with in creating new things.
That's awesome. Well, Larry, one day when you open up well, another opportunity to be a part of a community project in Rochester, I hope I could be there for it. Um, I love your work. I think you're incredible. Thank you
Thanks.
so
Thank you.
much for lending your time to us today and for talking to me.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah, where can our audience be directed to Airigami?
Airigami.com. We're just Airigami on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And to remember how to spell it, it's origami, but the O is replaced with air.
I love it. Awesome. Good luck to you, Larry, and I hope to meet you in the near future. Thanks again. I'm going to bring back Caitlin and Jesse. Are you guys ready to rock us out with one more?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Sweet. What do we got? What are you going to play?
I'm gonna play an unreleased song that is
Ooh.
called Bulldog. So this is off of the upcoming EP, and it's about Jesse.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
I were born when you were 12 years old. You never could have known that one day you would hold me with a shaky foundation, and I hate to disappoint you, but all my relations, they keep pulling at my heels. And I know that if I showed you exactly how to look at my jaw, well, you would see I'm shaped just like a bulldog, baby, a bulldog, baby, a bulldog. I am a bulldog. And you were 15 years old when you made some videos about a babysitter, and I used to do that job. Fast forward about 10 years and you slept in my apartment. You showed me your YouTube and I wish I could have known you then. But now I can see I'm not what you need, just a dream of something that you want. And you will know me shaking like a bulldog, baby, a bulldog, baby, a bulldog. I am a bulldog. And baby, I wish I could go back to when we met. Maybe we'd forget that I was such a wreck, a mangy, scared rescue who never pissed on your rug or chewed up all your shoes. I am not like you. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I am not like you. And I built the both of us, but you never ever blamed me. We were in our 20s and people say it's a good time to learn. And I learned that things may crack if you do not treat them gentle. And Don't try to love me now in the way you wanted to. But I know that if I have to say for one more time that I am wrong, well, you will know me shaking like a bulldog, baby bulldog, baby bulldog. I'm a bulldog, slobbering bulldog. You were the fucked jock. You were the fucked jock. You were the fucked jock.
Nice job. That was Caitlin of Candy Ambulance. Make sure you guys go and download all their music and fill your ears with candy. Thank you
Yeah.
again to Larry Moss. You guys rock. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on nostalgia. One of my very first friends in life was a girl named Jessica. We were neighbors, and she lived across the street from my childhood home. We spent our summer days together playing hide and seek, swimming in her pool, and bouncing back and forth to each other's houses. She was a few years older than me, and her house always smelled like ketchup. As life naturally progressed, we went on to live our lives and to run in our own circles. Last I heard, she had recently married and lived in Florida. Every time I pour ketchup to the side of my 4-year-old's French fries, I think of her, which is pretty often. And random, I know, and maybe she'd laugh if she even knew this now. But it's incredibly fascinating to me how one smell, one song, one movie, one sound can trigger a slew of emotions and bring you back to a time and place. Must we be reminded that not in all cases do these very same things remind us of positive moments. However, each of those timestamps remind us of the people we once were and the people, places, and memories that influenced our decisions and the various paths in life that led us to who we are today. It's important to acknowledge the impact we all have on one another, even if it be for a brief moment in our history. Meaningful interactions help us to define what makes us feel whole, what we require more of, and what we can live without. Nostalgia can be a great reboot to the positivity we're in need of during these really difficult times. It can aid us in revisioning what future lives we'd like to lead and what balance we need in order to strike to achieve wholeness again. May it remind you of the place which you started, how far you've come, and what necessary steps it took to get you to the place you're living in today. More importantly, may nostalgia motivate you to see the beauty each of our lives has to offer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed our show today. We'll be back here next time, and I'll see you Friday. You guys have a great day. Thank you.